Okay, so I had a little bit of space, a lot of bit of space today on purpose, outside of my regular schedule. And in this block of time, I was trying to decide whether I was gonna make banana fritters or whether I was gonna record this video about the three distinctions between unschooling as a practice and my specific unschooling practice. And because I'm a both and type chick, I said, you know what? Let me do both. So let's see if and how this works out. Because a lot of people tend to, or lately, a lot of people come to unschooling through me, right? They find out about the podcast because someone referred them to it, or something that I wrote somewhere, or my TEDx talk has been getting a lot of views lately. Because of that, I wanted to really distinguish between, I feel like that's important for me to distinguish between the premise and principle, the philosophy of unschooling overall, to distinguish some of that from the specific things you might hear me say about unschooling, because I want to try to minimize the chance that my approach to unschooling is viewed as the approach, like what you got to do in order to unschool, okay? Or what you got to believe. How many bananas did I put in already? I cut off the video. So I'm going to give you 3 ways, and I'm sure there are many more. And I'd love to hear if you're aware of any of the distinctions between how I do unschooling and how it might be different for other people, right? So the first thing is, got my notes, being anti-school. I am not a fan of school, period. I think it's something that we've outgrown. I don't even think it's something we ever were grown into. I think it's something it was a circumstance, schooling. And even though lots of people make good use out of it, I'm not a big fan of it. Oh, I wonder if this sounds gross. Or is it like, what is it called? ASMR?
Mashing bananas, ASMR.
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of schooling. I'm not focused on reform. I don't buy into the idea that families who divest from school or public education are leaving families behind. I don't believe that. However, so I'm anti-school in that way, and absolutely related to that, anti the K through 12 curriculum. Not every unschooler feels that way. Keep looking at the screen and not the camera. Hello. Not every unschooler feels that way. There are many unschoolers who use school as a tool or a resource, the same way that I would use, my family uses travel, or people in a local community. There are families who are unschoolers who dip in and out of school as the child wants or needs to. There are also unschoolers who are actively working within school systems to create change and to help usher out schoolishness, for the families who are eventually going to transition. Because as we know, everybody can't figure out how to stay fitting into school, right? That's the reality. So people like Malika Diggs of Eclectic Learning Network, who works a lot with schools in the Philly area, but she and her family unschool, and she is able to offer things for them that are supportive of partnership, even inside the system. And even though she's really clear about the limitations of that inside the system. So the first one, again, is that Akilah ain't with schooling, but there are many unschoolers who use schooling, okay? And many communities of unschoolers who believe in and connect to schooling, just in different ways. So the second one is anti-curriculum, okay? So I am anti-curriculum. My children are not. Plot twist. Who's that? Oh, okay, I think Chris just came in. Both of my girls use textbooks. Like, they're studying languages right now, and they found the textbooks on Amazon, and ask me to order those. So they like the textbook, and there are lots of things they get into where they use a full out curriculum, step by step, follow that. For me, that doesn't work, especially when I'm trying to learn something. It doesn't, and I also don't need to enforce it on my children, because when Chris and I started out doing the enforcing of a nicer curriculum as homeschoolers, we recognized over time the limitations of that and why that was still problematic. So I don't want you to think, as you are, if you're new to unschooling, that it means that, if there's a curriculum involved, then you're not unschooling. No, is there consent involved? Is the child or children, are they okay with that curriculum? Are they saying they want to do it? Did they opt into it? If they choose to opt out, are you going to create a consequence, or are you going to have a conversation about why and whether to respect that, or to help shift the dynamics around the curriculum itself? Unschooling is not anti-curriculum. What it's about is consent. And so the third thing is having a lot of support, right? So I have a lot of support. Been really blessed my entire life, even with messed up shit happening. There was always some level of support. I have, even right now, logistically, where we are, my parents are here, my partner's parents are here. We have extended unschooling family, like fam, community members who we now call fam. So there are basically lots of people who we could be like, can you watch our kids? Or can you help our kids get this thing done? Or can you drop them off somewhere, pick them up somewhere? Or in the case of our parents, can you help us buy this thing for our kids? We have that. And that's a blessing, and it is a privilege, because there are lots of other people who don't have it. However, again, if you're new to unschooling, I don't want you thinking that you have to have support all over, like you might see or hear me talk about, in order to do it. Because for many families, and you'll hear lots of them on the podcast, for many families, beginning to unschool, stepping out of the school and finding a co-op that supports homeschoolers and unschoolers, getting in community with those folks virtually, especially now during this pandemic, and in person where we can, that is how they built the support they need in order for unschooling to be sustainable. So don't think you have to have that level of support first, because I know for sure that there are many families who the reason they now have the level of support they have is because they began to unschool. Okay, so let me make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. All right, so then I'm going to give you my definition of unschooling at the end of this video, and with the caveat, right, the disclaimer maybe, that it's my definition, and that if it resonates for you, then it's something you can work with. But if it doesn't, share what it means for you. And my definition also, it changed for a while before it got to what it is now. And whereas before I knew that it would and probably should change, now it feels like one that really encompasses the what and why and the reminders that I need. So that's it. Those are the three things. Unschooling is not inherently anti-school, but Akilah happens to be. Unschooling is not inherently anti-curriculum. It's more about consent, not curriculum. And you do not have to have a lot of support in order to unschool, because in some instances, beginning to do that, going down that road, is what brings you into the space of support. All right, I hope that is helpful. Let me finish making my banana fritters because I cannot multitask. And check out raisingfreepeople.com, which I'll put here for more details. Peace.